Hey cats, it's your midsole man Eddbud here. Today I'm taking a closer look at the Novablast 5 from ASICS. Should you buy this model over some of the other existing daily shoes? I got some comparisons for you, including the Pegasus 41 from Nike, the PUMA Velocity Nitro 3, and the Adidas Adizero Sl2. Lots to get through in today's video, so let's get straight to it. Thanks for joining me on the channel today, guys. Hit that subscribe button if you've not done so already, and also give this video a thumbs up like. Dropping us a comment as well really helps with the YouTube algorithm. And if you've been enjoying the channel, please do help us out on a more ad hoc basis with a super thanks, or you can become a member as well. Dankeschön. So some in-depth comparisons today against the Asics Novablast 5. I think this is set to drop reasonably soon. Keep your eyes peeled if you're after a daily shoe, because this one is a real banger. First comparisons up against the Pegasus 41 from Nike. Nike choose to leave the Pegasus 41 pretty much as is, really. It's been the same kind of shoe for the last few years, very similar stack, a slightly higher drop too when compared to other daily models, but they have raised the price up by a $5 every few years. In fairness, comparing this one up to the Novablast 5, I think I've got to be honest, heavier set runners might get a little bit more out of the midsole combo here. I think the air units in the heel and the forefoot just provide a little bit more of a sort of additional consistency and response to the midsole. And aside from that, and perhaps the outsole design on the Pegasus 41, I can't help but feel that the Pegasus is just getting left behind a little bit. And now I've seen a little bit more about that sort of Pegasus Premium or whatever it's called, I'm not entirely sure that Nike are going in the right way there. Air units just seem to add lots of extra bulk and weight. That's not really a shoe that's exciting me at all. Otherwise, I've got to be honest, I quite like the Pegasus. It's a very consistent lockdown. It's easy to achieve. There's some decent padding in the tongue, and the padding is quite substantial, really. I think when you look at the upper materials used on the Novablast 5, they're by far thinner and a little bit more breathable. I think that padding's adding some extra weight. I've got about 26 grams between the two in favour of the ASICS shoe, and you got 5mm heel stack less here in the Nike. So yeah, the Novablast does have a little bit more width, both in the forefoot and the heel. I think it's actually the widest one of any in today's video. Midsole wise, the Novablast 5 certainly softer than the Pegasus. I find it a little bit more forgiving. I think the air units really you get in the Pegasus model are a bit of an acquired taste. Some people like that slightly firmer, more responsive design, but many people want that soft cushion and lightness that we've got in the ASICS. I did mention outsole, got to mention that again. That is where the Nike has a slight advantage over the Novablast 5. The waffle design here certainly preferable over the smoother, softer rubber that we've got here in the Novablast. Somewhat slippery on some smooth, wet surfaces, but you should be okay on just about anything else. That is, in fact, one area that's improved a little bit from my initial review. Now the rubber's roughed up somewhat. It is slightly better, so maybe get your sandpaper out and experiment a little bit with this one. Similar prices here between the two, but yeah, for me, the ASICS is a clear winner. Just feels like a shoe of 2024, whereas this one does feel like a shoe of 2020. Next up, the Velocity Nitro 3 from PUMA. Even in hand, this one does feel a little bit firmer, I have to say. Only a touch heavier at 10 grams, but it's not all that noticeable on foot, in fairness. Again, we have a slightly lower stack here in the PUMA shoe versus the Novablast 5, and it has to be noted that in the forefoot, it does taper in quite a lot on the lateral side, quite a bit more space here in the Novablast 5 up front if you've got larger, thicker toes. So it might make the PUMA a bit of a no-go if you've got a wider foot, a more voluminous sort of set of toes, I suppose. Upperwise, the ASICS easily a better fit for me, I have to say. The oddly shaped tongue on the Velocity Nitro 3 probably isn't going to be for everybody. It is partially gusseted, but I did get a little bit of tongue slide when using it. No such issues in the Novablast 5. I think also with that extra room you got up front, in the Novablast, I think it might be a better long run shoe, so it's a little bit more versatile perhaps than the PUMA. It's very much a daily option. Have to remember that there's a combination of midsole foams here in the Velocity Nitro 3. we've got a layer of Pro foam, so it's like an EVA based stuff, and then on top of that the softer Nitro material, nicely cushioned, a nod to those sort of more consistent and stable offerings rather than the sort of elaborate bounce that you get in some of Puma's elite foam shoes. The Novablast is quite substantially softer, it has to be said, actually closer to super shoe foams than what we've got here in the Puma. Think like Zoom X or Helion HF from On. Certainly more exciting and a little bit more energetic than the nitrogen infused stuff here. Outsole wise, I think the Puma still toasts the ASICS model in terms of grip and traction. I think the firmer, more aggressive rubber patterns that we've got here in the Puma grip outsole really are top notch. I think in pretty much all weather it's just superior to most other outsole materials. Though try telling the world that. I got a comment from somebody the other day to suggest that, you know, Puma shoes just aren't durable. I was lying. Well, you know, if you've tried it for yourself and you've got that opinion, fair enough. But pretty much all of the shoes I've tried from Puma have been spot on in terms of durability. I mean, look at the Fast R Nitro Elite 2. I put 100 miles into that and I could barely see any wear whatsoever. I think overall, in terms of versatility and performance, I'd have to go with the Asics Novablast 5 over this one. Lots more soft squash, but it just feels that bit more versatile, like I could take it for any sort of run, and I don't quite feel that in the Velocity Nitro 3. A touch more expensive, but you're getting the extra stack here, and it's just a more fun, sort of enjoyable ride, I suppose. On to the next one. Now, so many people ask me for this comparison, the Novablast 5 up against the Adidas Sl2. Now, the Sl2 is way narrower, it has to be said. That's the chief difference really here. There's almost a centimetre less in the heel, so I think if you do want a little bit more stability, then the ASICS is the way to go. If you want something that feels a little bit more like a race shoe or an up-tempo shoe, then the Sl2 could be spot on. And that narrowness is something that we're seeing across the whole Adizero range right now from Adidas. They're minimising all of those shoes. The uppers are a little thinner, a little less padded actually in the Novablast 5. Aside perhaps from the heel area, it's quite a lot of cushion actually on top of the foot, with the tongue on the Sl2. Well, when you think about it, there's nothing quite like this shoe out there right now. You've got a real maximal stack, but without the weight, and the softness here is unmatched. There's no other shoe for that price that actually comes close to this. It's almost like a new category, I suppose. They've created like a similar to the Superblast type model, but at a much lower price. I think availability will probably be a lot better on this one. Yet you've still got that forefoot and heel width as well, so it's going to satisfy those after some stability. Of course, I think the Evo SL, which is forthcoming very soon, is perhaps a slightly better matchup, I suppose, but I haven't got my hands on that at the moment, so I can't comment. Yes, you do have the Light Strike Pro foam encased within the midsole of this one. It's almost like Adidas know that this was coming up and they need a shoe that's as close to the Novablast as they can get. People want that sort of super foam feel, and you certainly have that in the ASICS. Even that price of the Evo SL is closer. This one's much cheaper at 110 quid over here in the UK. I would say there's a slightly better grip here on offer in the Sl2. We got the ridges here, but we don't have the Continental rubber here. I mean, you could even say this is like a race option, it being slightly lighter than the Novablast 5. But if you're on a budget and you do want that lightness, perhaps a shoe for some tempo work, I think it's like an ounce lighter, this one. Super simple upper, no bells and whistles. This one does hit the spot. Though I think if I could have only one pair, like I was on the desert island and that's all I was allowed, then Novablast 5 is still probably a better option. It's just a great all-rounder, a real Ian Botham of a shoe. I think it's generally just got a little bit more going for it for a wide range of runners over the Sl2. I think the heel width will be a little bit of a deal breaker for some people, and there's no wide fit option as far as I'm aware. So I think that's a clean sweep of wins today for the Novablast 5. Not sure that's ever happened before. Those were the three main comparisons that viewers have been asking for. If there's any more sort of info you want on the shoe, please let me know in the comments and I'll try my best to answer as many questions as I can. Certainly a standout model with some big improvements from the last iteration. Nothing quite like this one in terms of stack, weight and price. Let me know what you think about the Novablast 5 down in the comments. Also, if you check out the community section of the site, I've got a post up there at the moment requesting your top 3 shoes that you've been utilising over the last year. Doesn't have to be shoes from 2024, it can be just any shoes you've been using really. I'm going to build up all the data and results so I can do a viewer's best of shoes in early December for you. Very quick musical interlude for you. Perhaps you're building up a Christmas playlist just like I am, ready to unleash it on the world come the 1st of December. One of the tracks you must have on there comes from like a super group, I suppose. Lenny Kilmister, Billy F. Gibbons and Dave Grohl on this one, a rendition of Run, Rudolph, Run. Everything about this track's perfect really. The bass, pummeling drums, and the guitar tone is just humongous. Heaven knows what Billy F. Gibbons was playing, one of his Gretches maybe through a magnetone amplifier or something. The sound is just so huge. The guitar warm yet sort of biting. It's inviting yet coarse and uncouth. And the vocal delivery, as per usual from the master, the legend Lemmy, is just gravel-like. Even when he's describing how the child may like a doll for Christmas that does various doll-related activities, you know, he still makes it sound pretty angry, I suppose. Go and check this one out. You'll be able to find it on the streaming services and you can add it to your Christmas playlist and listen to it on Christmas Day. Just be a little bit careful. There is some choice language towards the end of the track. Lemmy and his pals doing Run, Rudolph, Run. Thanks for tuning in, people. It's always appreciated. Hit that subscribe button and also give this video a thumbs up like. Drop us a comment to help with the algorithm. My name's Eddbud and I'll be seeing you